See, outreach strategies can be manifold. If a startup is in a B2B specifically, so it's a far bigger challenge, I would imagine. And I would, sort of advise and suggest to entrepreneurs, if they are talking about a B2B model, they should have done some feasibility in terms of who their prospective customers are going to be. Number one, what domain are they going to be operating in? Ideally, some connections in terms of alliances or some past history with the possible customer always helps. That was the case in our case as well, because when we wanted to do a startup in telecom, we had inroads into our future customers already, because in the past we had worked with those customers. B2B is very very relationship driven and very need driven, because you got to innovate on a product. Then you got to, maybe if you don't know anything, just start with a cold calling situation and then get into the right spot if you don't want to prolong the selling cycle. B2B, hence for the outreach would be very very different than generic B2C outreach, market outreach, where you can go digital and go through websites, through apps, through ads, other things can, and it's very viral. B2B is not viral at all in that sense. It is more need and demand driven. So I think if a careful thought process is done, that if my business is going to be B2B, also depends on the industry that you're going to start. For example, if it's very enterprise driven, then I would strongly recommend to have a very strong channel strategy, because you're talking about at least 5,000, 10,000 enterprises at mid level, and if you're talking about SME level business, then even more. So unless you have very smart and solid channel partners in place, the traction will be fairly low. So I mean, that's a very good way to start if you have a B2B, but on a SME level traction. But if your customers are like telcos or larger organizations, which are handful in number, then obviously the entry strategy has to be a little different. That okay, you got to be different in what you've been doing so far, and others have not done that before. So that will get you an entry. The good news is that most of these telcos, in that sense, if telco happens to be one of your customers, they want to see innovation. They will not block you out just because you're startup or small. If your product is worthy of their attention, they will give you that time. So I think it depends exactly who's targeting who, and who's going to be your prospect. That your outreach strategy should depend entirely on that.